Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Cybertron City Podcast, New York City's premier Transformers fan cast, where we celebrate all eras of Transformers except Kiss players. My name's Paul, aka Brooklyn Bots, over on Instagram. I am joined, as always, by my reliable, trusty co-host, Danny, aka Matrix_Mez23, over on Instagram. Danny, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I had to rush over, get some stuff done coming home from work, but I made it on time. That's all that matters.
Woo, you had to stop by Target, didn't you?
Yeah, I gave up on Target. I said it gives me something to do tomorrow morning, so I'll do that tomorrow.
Target. You gave up on like the closest thing that we're gonna have to Toys R Us in quite some time. Shout out to
it's all right.
back in the day.
There's a Toys R Us in Jersey right now in American Dream Mall, but it's not the same.
Is it a proper Toys R Us, or I guess?
Yeah.
Let me backtrack on it. It's a proper Toys R Us. It's not like attached to Macy's like some of them.
No. No, we have those too. I'm pretty sure by what you're saying, you know about it too, that Toys R Us has been attached to Macy's on like the bottom floor, top floor. But in the American Dream Mall, it's 2 stories. It's the bottom level and the top level.
Okay.
And just has a staircase inside. But they don't have a lot of like Transformers, like variety of any toys really. Like if you're going in and you're like one of us, like you're like at that level of collecting, you're not going to be seeing the newest waves or anything. You're going to be seeing Legacy Wave 1, Legacy Wave 2 if you're lucky, and a lot of like licensed Hasbro Transformer toys.
Legacy Wave 1. Wow.
That's probably what you're going to be seeing. It's not a lot.
So like they're just like stacked to the rim with Prime RC and skids.
Probably.
Wow. Oh, goodness. I feel like of all the waves of any recent generations toy line, whether it is like the proper mainline or studio series, just anything that's not like the kid-focused stuff, I think Legacy Wave 1 is probably the weakest wave that we've seen in quite some time of like any of those toy lines. Do you agree?
I was going to say the idea of Legacy Wave 1 was, genius. Like let's market this, but let's do some G1 just to keep the G1ers happy while we start to integrate newer designs and newer items. But the execution was terrible. Like I get trying to appeal to both sides, but they got it pretty much down now where they found their stride. Like they know what they're doing. They know what they could try with us. They know how to fit things into the waves that will appeal to both the G1ers and the people who are trying to look for more variety. So I don't know if you agree with that too. We had Drag Strip, we had Skids, we had, who else did we have? We had a lot of G1 people there.
We had Kickback as well.
Kickback. And the repackaged Blaster, we had that too.
Bulkhead, shout out. And the very well done, although some people don't think so, G2 Laser Optimus Prime.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's where you debuted. I think
I have the mold.
When they don't like it, it comes down to number one, the shoulders not being able to rotate, which I think it's a valid argument because the other 2 versions, 2, 3, how many versions of this mold have existed now at this point?
Probably like 4.
That character, yeah, however many at this point. Like I've lost track of how many redos of the G2 Laser Prime have been done. But all of them, to my knowledge, have had some level of like shoulder articulation where the pylons actually move with the arms. So for this one, it's like, yeah, I understand the frustration with it, but given how intricate the figure is, especially with regarding to the chest transformation, I don't really see how else they could have really done it. But
yeah. I don't have a big problem with that mold shoulders. I only picked up the Toxitron repaint of that mold. I regretted not picking up Scourge, but I don't think I'm missing out on too much.
Scourge was everywhere for like the longest time too.
I know, but I couldn't commit.
Fair enough. While we're talking about toys, did you have any new catches this week? Pickups, catches, procurements?
Yes. I picked up, this was last week. I think as soon as we had finished the other recording, I had gotten the Legacy 4-pack with Tarn, Cliff Jumper, that toy colored Tarantulas, and Squeeze Play, aka Cancer. I got Them only because I struck a deal with one of my online friends to sell him the tarantulas and the cliff jumper because I just don't have the shelf space for the tarantulas, and I don't really care for the prime figures. So I got my Tarn back because I had sold the original release and I regretted it instantly. My girlfriend used to make fun of me because she was like, "I love Tarn. I don't know why you sold them off." And I kind of like this color scheme a bit more. A bit more. I know it's supposed to be the Cyberverse iteration of Tarn, but I don't see it. I'm pretty sure nobody sees it except for like the paint on the face, but it just gives him more like an evil demonic look to him, and that's why I prefer this guy a bit more. Squeeze plays a bunch of well, he's just like a who's he a retool of? Mind Wipe, right?
Mind Wipe.
Yes. I like Mind Wipe. I like the purple on Mind Wipe. I like purple and blues, and Squeeze Play just appealed to me instantly when he got revealed.
Yeah, that's funny because that's the one that I got this week too.
Yeah.
Look at
You
that.
were telling me, yeah.
I really enjoy this set, and I've enjoyed it a lot more than the last couple of different sets that they've put out. This might be, in my opinion, I think it's the strongest 4-pack that Hasbro's released so far since they've been doing these Target exclusive packs. Last year's Troop Builder set was pretty good. I didn't really care for the Seeker, but everything else from like all those obscure pulls from the animated Auto Trooper, the G2 Axis Trooper was also like, wow, that came out of nowhere. Like, was anybody expecting that? I don't think so.
No.
And then you had also, what was it, the Quintesson Bailiff or Quintesson Alicon retool, which is also really nice. But getting back to this one, as I said, this is probably my favorite version of the 4-packs they've been doing. I knew as soon as Chase was announced from Legacy United that this was going to be Return to Prime Universe Cliff Jumper, just like the way that everything was proportioned, looked exactly like it. I really enjoyed Cliff Jumper. I think he and Squeeze Play / Cancer are probably the strongest ones of the set, just because they've had the most amount of retooling done to them.
Yeah.
Or in Cliff Jumper's case, pre-tooling. Tarn, I agree. I think as someone who has not seen Cyberverse, has only really like looked at it on Wikipedia and whatnot in the background. I think,
fake fan.
Yeah. Shout out to TF Wiki. Thank you for categorizing all of the information for us fans that are too lazy to actually watch the show. But I agree. I think the only similarity I can see with him is that face where he looks like Heath Ledger, like in his Joker Dark Knight appearance. But it's definitely a redeco that's worth keeping. I like the IDW Tarn. I still prefer IDW Tarn as a character, which is why I will never get rid of that mold ever, or that version of that mold ever. But I think there's definitely a place for Tarn. Just his character's great. I would love to see Tarn on the big screen, and just having like a more menacing, like definitely like more super villain, more like megalomaniac version of Tarn, as opposed to like the cunning, patient, ruthless killer that he is in the comics. It's a different take. I really do enjoy it. And then Tarantulas, nah.
Yeah,
Not
no,
very
really
good.
got it for him. No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did. There's a very small like Beast Wars only toy audience. Shout out to you guys, but not really my cup of tea.
Yeah, you're wasting my shelf space.
Yeah. There's also a couple of different news reveals one to get this week. One I think is more particular than the other, but I'll get the smaller one out of the way. There was a DNA design kit upgrade that came out for Nova Prime. So this is the Amazon exclusive one that came out last year as a part of the pre-war Golden Age of Cybertron comic inspired pack. Generally speaking, I only get third-party add-on kits if they dramatically change the way the figure looks for the better. So the ones I've gotten recently would be the ones for SS-102 Optimus Prime from Rise of the Beasts, and then SS-101 for Scourge. It was the for Scourge, it was only one of the ones, but it was the ones that gave him like the new head, the new claw, and gave him all those like different armory bits that built up his legs. Those two are
he's got
absolutely
like
worth it.
he has like 4 kits out now, right?
something like that. They came out with like some other new kit that's like a hodgepodge of the two of them, but it doesn't come with a
Yeah.
claw arm for some reason. But
Did you
anyways,
see that? Did you see that reveal? I think it was some third party company was selling a already like pimped out Scourge with like all these kits are coming with. This release kind of has everything already, and it's only selling for $35. So instead of buying the Scourge and buying 3 kits on top of that and spending like $170 on the Scourge, you could just pay $35 and you have it in a month.
I will look into that because the figure, when it comes to the smokestacks on Scourge, they always fall out. So I'm wondering if this had like any improvements to those engineering defects there. But
Mm-hmm.
I'll certainly give it a look. Getting back to Nova Prime though, that upgrade kit looks freaking gorgeous. Like this might be one of the top things that DNA Design's ever done. Granted, for the vehicle mode, hell of a lot of parts forming. Not really a big fan of like dissecting that figure any more than I already have
Yeah.
to transform it because it's already a bit of a Lego
Mhm.
experiment. But the end result, chef's kiss, just absolutely gorgeous. The fold out wings look great. The height difference looks great. It's a bit of like additions to his chest and his arms. I wish there was a way that you could take those ugly ass cannons off his back and like remove them a little bit, just because I think those kind
Yeah.
of break up the whole aesthetic. But I mean, comic accurate Nova Prime, probably one of the best characters to come out of IDW in the first place. It's kind of hard to hate it.
I mean, I skipped out on that Legacy Nova Prime only because I have the old kit that turns what was it, Battle Core Combiner Wars Optimus Prime, that white version of Optimus. And
From Combiner Wars, I believe.
yeah, it was like Battle Core or something like that. But I have the kit that makes him into Nova Prime, and that thing towers over everybody now. It's like bigger than the Fallen, bigger than like Cybertron, Megatron, that mold. So, and I didn't see the need to get the Nova Prime that released a year ago only because of the wingspan. And I feel like the wingspan is a big like that's what makes Nova Prime recognizable.
Yes.
So I'm definitely kind of like thinking about getting this new one along with the upgrade kit, but I don't really need 2 Nova Primes.
I would say get the new one. I know they have, at least at the time of this recording, they have some stock over at Command Store. Shout out again, Command Store. All reliable. Love you guys. Nice Canadians. But it's again, it's the Siege Magnus mold, so you're going to have the limitations that come with it. But if you're going to only have one version of that mold in your collection with its faults, Nova Prime is 1000% the one to get. It just it looks imposing.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to see how much it's going to run me.
I think the kit's like $55 itself, but it's a pretty extensive kit.
Yeah, I saw like those layouts. That it's basically like double the plastic.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and DNA Design's gotten a lot better. Their original kits they had for Prime and Magnus from Siege were just a bit dicey, to be honest, but here's hoping they've improved on it. But we shall see. The other piece of news we wanted to cover was, I'm not sure if this was official, but it's highly rumored with like some decent credibility to it, was that there's pretty much an all but certain confirmation that Studio Series 86 Megatron will be indeed not a gun. What are your thoughts?
Damn, why you got to throw that on me first?
Because you thrive under pressure, Danny.
All right. I understand the whys and the why nots of Gun Megatron, and I feel like understanding it is a big step towards acceptance. You know, gun laws in the U.S. are insanely strict. And the last thing anybody wants to see is a kid get shot in the head because he's carrying around a gun Megatron. Only because the hardcore fans, including me, want a G1 Megatron. It's not worth the trouble. It's not worth going through the licenses. It's not worth the loopholes, honestly. You know, even if we get a fan mode, I'm kind of like on the fence of like go for it, but also don't even bother. Because if you want a gun mode Megatron, you have that option to go out and get a masterpiece Megatron. You know, it's sure like it'll be from Japan, it'll be a masterpiece scale or whatever, but you know, you have that option if you really want it. But I don't think it's gonna happen in the US market at the chug scale that we have now.
I don't either. Even getting something like Classics Megatron from like 2006, just the hurdles they had to go through to get that thing, like painted, what was it, bright white with neon purple, green, and orange.
Yep.
And it was a Nerf gun. Yeah, good luck trying to get a realistic looking World War II era pistol on
Yep.
toy shelves. Just good luck, guys. We haven't even had an original reissue of that, even in wacky colors. So the way they would just do it for a Studio Series 86 release would be whack. I think we talked about this on the podcast before, but even if it was legal to do that, I'm still maintaining the position that a lot of the reason that people want a gun Megatron is strictly nostalgia. If we're being honest here, I think of all people who have made the argument against gun Megatron, of all people, Michael Bay probably made the best rationalization for it. It's like Darth Vader transforming into his own lightsaber for like a stormtrooper to wield. It makes no sense. It's just like, why when you, like the leader of the evil guy faction, would turn into like this thing, like you would, number one, shrink down to like human handheld size for somebody else to wield it. It's impractical.
Starscream.
It looks weird. Like, yeah, Starscream would wield it of all people. The person you trusted the least is the person you're going to put all this firepower into? What? Again, 80s cartoons, it's just, you have to like unplug your brain a little bit and leave your belief at the door. Your suspension of disbelief. That's the word I'm working. The term I'm
throw your brain out.
Yeah. But there's just so many more interesting alternate modes. Like you have T-Rex, gunship, helicopter, race car. Literally anything could be more interesting than that.
What's your favorite Megatron alt mode?
I would
like not a specific, but like like not a specific Megatron in an existing continuity. Like just in general, do you like him being a tank, a car, a race car, a fucking pile of bones in the air?
I like him being a stealth bomber. I like the IDW stealth bomber Megatron. Well, to me, like, that design is peak, and what I would love, like my dream would be to have either in leader class form or commander class form, IDW Optimus Prime and IDW Stealth Bomber Megatron released either in the same wave or side by side, like year after year in commander format.
That sounds nice. That sounds hot.
Like, I mean, Stealth Bomber Megatron, it was the first time that within this big wave of G1 nostalgia, they took like a G1 centric Megatron and just like completely overhauled him.
Yeah. And but I don't think it's possible now.
What do you mean it wouldn't be possible?
Like I know what iteration you're looking to get. Like I know which one you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But you know, like they did the Thrilling 30 version back then, you know, what, like over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's some like controversy behind that. I don't know if you knew about it.
What's the controversy?
Oh, all right. So like maybe I'm blaspheming here, but you know, like if I'm wrong, somebody could just correct me in the comments. What I heard is that the creator of that Megatron design had pitched it to whatever IDW heads he did it, like he pitched it for, right? But they declined it, or they like, all right, so they basically didn't want it, and they didn't want him, so they fired him, or he got let go, or I don't know, some corporate excuse they made up. And then the next issue that came out, they used his design after, you know, they like shot him down and everything.
See,
and apparently he's still like salty about it.
From a creative standpoint, I can sympathize with that, but it's still an awesome design. And like, as long as you get as long as the guy gets like shout out for that on like a live stream at the very least, because they're not partners with IDW anymore, so they don't have to pretend to be nice to them. Also, IDW is getting a lot of like comeuppance toward them because ever since they lost the Transformers license, even before then, like the quality of their storytelling is just nosedived. Um, but you know, they're in better hands now with Image. Image is doing a great, fantastic, awesome, whatever superlative you want to insert their job with their Transformers comic. Eisner Award winning now, actually, as of San Diego Comic Con. But yeah, Bomber Megatron, it's to me like a top 5 Megatron design ever. So Stealth Bomber would be great. I'm also a
That'd be
fan of
good.
him transforming into like a heavily armed like helicopter. So not necessarily like Transformers animated, but something that's still like military-esque that allows him to be in the air with a lot of the other Decepticons. Tank is
Something more
cool, but
versatile.
yeah, Tank is cool, but something a little bit more mobile, something that allows him to get around places. Because I
Hmm.
like Megatron. I think an aerial-based alt mode kind of goes into Megatron's personality because he comes from being a gladiator. He doesn't like being confined, and I think like the
Yeah.
more control and autonomy he has over his own destiny, like giving him a more aerial-based alt mode just makes more sense to me. Heavily armed, but aerial.
Damn, hire this guy.
Absolutely.
But
What about you?
so
Favorite
like
Megatron
I
alt mode?
mean, the child in me wants to say race car because I grew up with race car Megatron, but I don't mind the tank Megatron. We still get like that militaristic, you know, leader. We still get that, that transitions into this military vehicle on the battlefield with this fusion cannon turning into the tank's cannon. I don't. I wouldn't be upset, and I know it's basically been confirmed that he is turning into a tank in the new SS-86 line. But I am definitely one of those people who want a gun Megatron for the nostalgia, like you said. And I used to be one of those people who's like, if it's not a gun Megatron, I don't want it. And if it's not a gun, it's not Studio Series 86, it's not accurate, it's not this, it's not that. But, I've kind of come to accept the fact that there's, way more important things than just wanting a toy turning into what could be mistaken for a lethal weapon.
Nah, fuck them kids.
But other other than that, then yeah, the tank. I don't really mind the tank. I like when he turns into an H tank, like the Armada Megatron.
Ah, yeah.
I
Yes,
love that.
H-Tanker Megatron. I'm staring at mine, actually, that's on my desk right now, along with Armada Prime. H-Tank Megatron from
Mm.
Armada is great. A lot of childhood memories from that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it seems more like threatening than a just standard,
David Kay's voice
tank.
will also be just synonymous with Megatron, too. Love Frank Welker. I can appreciate the nostalgia and him being like the template that set Megatron in motion. But between Beast Wars, Armada, Energon, Cybertron, just David Kay was that role for such a long time.
Yeah,
Like
even for me.
and pretty much like nonstop from the mid '90s up until like the movie came out. So
Hmm.
10 years of being Megatron. That's impressive. That's an
Yeah.
impressive run for pretty much being the same character.
No, yeah. Did you have any other pickups you wanted to talk about? I
Yeah, I wanted
know I had a
to
big one I wanted to throw in your face.
yeah, I have to keep the Megatron thing going along. I got
Hmm.
the San Diego Comic Con Fractured Friendship 2-pack, so
Oh,
which
that's right.
features Gladiator Megatron, as we were talking about, and also a very much improved retool of the Gamer Edition Optimus Prime in the form of the IDW sort of Orion packs, but not really Orion packs because he has the Matrix in his chest. So it's like
Hmm.
you pick what you can. I'm calling him Optimus Prime. If he has the Matrix already, like, and he has the faceplate, it's like, come on, guys, really, we're doing this. But it's a great 2-pack. So there's some stock left over it on Hasbro Pulse. So if you guys want to pick them up, now is the time. I would highly recommend the set. Um, but it's great. I think it improves upon everything that I didn't like about the Gamer Edition Prime. I feel the plastic's a little stronger. His legs are actually a bit longer at the shins, so he doesn't look like that squatty gorilla-esque
So,
proportions anymore. He still has like the weird gorilla arms, and they're a little bit disproportionate, but that comic design was lending that way anyway. So it already goes with what you're kind of expecting of that Prime anyway. And it's a great evolution of the Data Clerk Orion Pax figure that was also from the Amazon pre-war Golden Age of Cybertron comic accurate collection from 2023.
What a
So it
mouthful.
directly progress. I know. Welcome to Transformers. There's like 18,000 different names. But yeah, it directly progresses on that Orion Pax design. And that Orion Pax design was already like a hodgepodge of different things versus the Fractured Friendship Orion Pax is very much directly lifted from the IDW comics. Oh yeah, one more thing to talk about for improvement.
Yeah.
They actually gave him a gun handle. So the weapon he has is directly lifted from the Gamer Edition Prime, but with a proper way to actually hold the weapon this time. So you don't have to do any kind of like weird parts forming or taking apart weapons from other figures. He can just like properly hold it unlocked, which is great.
Does the gun look a bit better now? Because I don't know how much tooling they did for that, for that handle. I don't know if they just kind of slapped it on or if it filled out some of the like hollow bit on it.
No, it's like it's in there, like it's screwed into place. Like if you drop it, the handle's not gonna fall out of place.
Okay.
Like the actual black portion of it, that's or black or charcoal plastic or whatever this color is, that's unchanged. They just put a plug in there, and the plug is held in there very tightly by a screw, so that it's not going anywhere. It's very secure.
Okay. They're milking that Megatron mold, so Jesus Christ.
I think this is the last time we're going to see Siege Megatron. I think for a lot of people, it's a sigh of relief. It works very well. It's the same sculpt as the minor Megatron from before, just with 2 new weapons. The paint job looks good. It's definitely like the lesser of the 2 figures within the set, but it's still worth it. It still hits good. I just wish it was compatible with a fusion cannon instead of the mining gear, but that's another story for another time. Overall, I think it's very worth it for a set. And you said you had another big pickup before we go on to today's main topic, which will be a doozy, by the way. So if you haven't before, get a beverage. This is going to be a long one, folks. Get very comfortable. Get your favorite beanbag chair. But without further ado, and without any further ado, Danny, what absolute monster did you get?
I got my Fortress Maximus in the mail this week. And you've been blaspheming all over this Titan for the last like month or so.
Yes, I have.
But hold on, let me grab him. Here we go. Just so I can look at him while I'm talking to you.
How's the new baby?
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I don't have one.
That thing is a child.
He stands on the floor with Scorponok and all my other Titans, Triptychon, Arc, all those guys. But I love Titans, and I love them even more when they have electronics in them. And it is such a sigh of relief to see a toy of this size have something other than size to its name. Like this has like features.
Yes.
And I'm not a big Titan guy. Like I'll go for the ones I really like. Right now I'm skipping on Tidal Wave. I skipped on Metroplex.
Literally stabbing me in the heart. The Armada fanboy just got stabbed in the heart. Screw Tidal Wave. Screw you.
Yeah, I didn't really grow up with Tidal Wave. I don't really care for Tidal Wave, but he looks good. He looks like he's a lot of fun. He looks like, something I would have definitely wanted to play with if I had grown up with Armada. But, I have no attachment to the character. I just kind of want the ones that I could justify having in my collection, like the Nemesis, probably, and Omega Supreme. Which I'm probably not even gonna get a Titan Omega Supreme if they re-release it. I'm probably gonna go for a downsized third-party Omega, so he's more in scale with my Devastator. But Fortress Maximus is such a joy to handle. I love putting all those stickers at midnight is so much fun. Let me tell you. But my girlfriend ordered it for me. I think like last month, almost to the day. And he finally got here like within a week of Big Bad Toy Store saying that they got him. So shout out to BBTS.
Shout out to that pile of loot, baby.
Yeah, bro. I fucking love this thing.
Yeah, I have a big pile of loot coming later in the year. Not Transformers, well, partially Transformers related. So I'm very happy with that feature. But I'm happy that you got to experience Fort Max. I know you said you were looking at a COG at one point to go with him.
Oh no, I had a COG. I got COG when he first released, and I never sold them off like my other modulators, Ironworks and Six Gun, and who else came out? Well, Cog is the
Brunt.
last one. Yeah. Oh, Brunt, I have. I never sold them off. I realized I sold off Fast Track a while ago, and I was like, oh well, whatever. But I kept Cog just because Fort Max was gonna be like my next Titan purchase, eventually.
Nice.
Well, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. I got the 4-pack and I got the Titan, and I'm eating good. I haven't really experienced much of them since I'm usually out busy doing things and working. So I try to like spend this time at night trying to like make up for that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, we'll see how many new stuff's on the horizon. I mean, I keep saying that I'm gonna like chill out a little bit, but the pre-orders just keep dropping earlier and earlier. So like probably by this time I record my next podcast, I'll be getting a shipping notice for Studio Series 86 Optimus, but we'll see. That's
Can't
gonna.
wait.
I may end up getting two of them, just one to keep in the box and the other one just to experience the unbridled joy of a
Yeah,
finally like proper G1 Optimus Prime that I feel is not going to break
I'm
MP44. But that's
I'm
another
definitely
story.
getting two of them. I'm getting one to get signed in box, and then one, just so I can enjoy it too.
Exactly.
Hmm.
All right. So as we teased just a little bit a while ago, this is going to be a long one today. So we were debating on how to do this format because I feel we're deep enough in the podcast at this point that we can breach away from just talking about toys. We love talking about toys. We think it's like the core part of the franchise, but we want this to be a podcast about the entirety of Transformers, not just talking about all eras, but also all aspects of the brand. So I think a good way to breach into just not only toy discussion, but media discussion, branding decisions, comics, TV series, opinions, and whatnot would be to tackle the five biggest successes of the brand and the five biggest fails of the brand. So this is going to be a two-part podcast. The fails will be today's segment, and then next time when you tune in, whatever the week is after this recording, will be the successes. So we'll start off on a negative note, and then we will end on the positive, rip-roaring, celebratory note, especially in the
Yep.
40th year of the brand. But I think with the praise should come the criticism as well. And before we start in, like, what do you guys believe are the five greatest fails of the franchise? And it doesn't necessarily need to be just toys. It could be a TV series you really didn't like, a business or branding decision you didn't like, um, a gimmick that you thought went too far. Maybe it was a portrayal of a character you really didn't like. Maybe it was a movie that you just were like, ugh, what's going on here? Like whatever didn't vibe with you. So I think to kick off, Danny, what did you have listed on your first fail?
All right, let's see. Honestly, I mean, I have a pretty big one, but I'm trying to save it for the end, so people
All
don't
right.
click away now. So I feel like we could all agree. I know you have a Transformer show on your list, so I
Yes.
wanted to. That gave me the confidence to kind of poke fun at one of my least favorite shows in the continuity, and that's RID 2015,
Okay.
and their like their consistency to just tell stories within episode, like just focus on one mission and it gets solved at the end and everybody's happy at the end of the episode, instead of kind of dragging that entire story like its sister series Transformers Prime, which created more of a united fandom and had people at the edge of their seats and wanting to watch the show because they loved it and not because they felt that they needed to. I i thought the character designs were wacky, but it, it wasn't bad until they kept reusing those same character designs in the later seasons, where it was just like another Underbite but green, or a Scorponok but blue, and using the Decepticon soldier. Damn, I forgot the names. the Viacons, and just making them random colors. I feel like they went too crazy on the designs, and then they just kind of burnt themselves out. And that goes the same for like their threats, their villains. I didn't feel the weight of it when Megatronus was getting built up. I didn't feel how scary Megatronus was. I didn't take him seriously. I just thought he was like this pouty teenager who wanted to like get revenge on everybody because his feelings were hurt. Steeljaw was made up to be like this Decepticon leader, but you know he's not a Decepticon. He wants to make a new faction on Earth, and it was like I'm not buying any of it, you know. And I feel like if they were gonna go this route and this path to like make a complete different type of show, you should have just labeled it as that instead of kind of piggybacking off of the successful show that you had given us years prior to this.
I agree. I think RID 2015 was the beginning of me tuning out of the franchise because that was around the same time that Combiner Wars was really starting to ride high in the toy line. And I know because as a Combiner fan, I wanted to at least wait that out and get the Combiners. But I even knew like around that time and shortly beforehand that the plastic quality of the toys was beginning to decline. And then Transformers Prime had wrapped up the year prior with Predacons Rising. To me, like one of the strongest sticking in the landings of a franchise within Transformers ever, especially with seasons 2 and season 3 being a little bit hit and miss. Season 3 with Beast Hunters was definitely a lot more solid than season 2, which to me was, like you were saying with RD 2015, it felt more episodic at that point, more like let's collect the missing Prime relics or these ancient artifacts from Cybertron. And with RD 2015, the animation got cheaper. It looked like it was like some cheap cell shaded series, one of which we'll be talking about a bit later on my personal list. And you're right. I'm all for crazy and wacky character designs, but at the end of the day, like it felt like it cheapened the Decepticons a little bit, how they were almost all animalistic looking, or like they were cosplaying at like a furry convention, to be honest. Like,
whoa,
sorry, just saying it.
Getting everybody mad now.
We call things out. We are New Yorkers. If you don't like that, we are not the Transformers podcast for you. But it's still like you have this one giant lobster transformer, Bisque, I think was his name.
Whoa. Hold on. I was a number one Biscator back in the day. But looking back at him now, this guy was cracked out. He just like right now, this guy was just straight up vibes.
Yes. And if he was like a one-off character, that would have been great. But then, like, every Transformer that was a Decepticon in that show, or pretty much every Transformer in that show, that other than like Soundwave when he randomly came back and Megatronus, animal-like, and I'm just like, okay, it felt like yes, cool, great ideas, not so great execution. The human characters seemed more annoying than usual. And you're right, like there wasn't really a reason to like stay tuned into the episodes and really follow a story from start to finish. It's just like, hey, let's piggyback off the success of Transformers Prime, use some of the elements from that series, but just kind of do our own thing and screw continuity, screw quality. Just pump out something.
Yeah.
There goes Fortress Maximus.
Yeah, there he goes. Wait, no, it's what's his name? Cerebro. Jesus Christ! I'm gonna put you all the way over there. There you go. Yeah, I feel like the only it felt like bringing back those Transformers Prime characters were the only reasons they gave us to keep watching the show. I started watching it just because I heard Optimus Prime was gonna come back. And then once I realized what he was coming back for and who he had to fight, I was like, that's it, I'm done. Years later, I revisited the show and I was like, let me see what I missed. Maybe it got good. And it's like, oh, I just wasted half an hour on watching Strong Arm try to fight like this nobody friend that I don't care about, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I say that as like owning RID 2015 Strong Arm and who is it, Filch from the Walmart set. But at this point, I'm like, having read up on them on the wiki, I'm like, they seem like interesting characters, but they were very much a byproduct of just being part of the wrong fiction at the wrong time. I think with a lot of like love and
Yes.
TLC, they could be definitely better used,
Hmm.
but just horrible, horrible format, very forgettable show.
Yeah. They
Not my
needed
favorite.
character. I like the designs. I love the designs. Some a bit more than others, but give me a reason other than I like the designs to watch the show.
Wasn't even enough to sell toys too.
No.
For my pick, I'm going to shift more towards the movies. And without citing a single movie, because I can definitely put all of them except the first one on the, and by first one I mean TF 2007 on this list. But I think if there's one single thing that killed the movies, it was the 2008 writer's strike. And here's my rationale for that. So, Transformers 2007, no matter how you feel on the film, no matter how you feel about Michael Bay, without that movie, Transformers would not be as popular. It would not see this resurgence. It would not be as prominent as it is today without it. Just spitting straight facts here.
Yep.
They had everything going for Revenge of the Fallen. They had a very hyped toy line. Things were more complex. Everyone was anticipating it. They had the same writers and producers and whatnot from the previous movie back on board. The hype was real. Everyone knew they would go to the theaters and see Megan Fox do her thing again. And by the time the movie dropped, you saw that rotten, god awful, rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, and you didn't want to believe it. You wanted to support your fans. You wanted to support your thing you love, and you went to the theater, and you were just kind of blindsided by how much of a mess it was. So, what basically happened is that Roberto Orsi and Alex Kurtzman, who were the ones that wrote the script for 2007, because they were part of the Writers Guild of America, they were unable to work on or complete the script in time for production on the movie. So they hired this writer, Aaron Kruger, I think is his name. He would end up working on Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, and Age of Extinction to basically stitch together the rest of the script. And we all know how the rest of those movies went.
Now, do you
Very,
how
very.
how how
Sorry, go
strong
ahead.
do you? Yeah, my bad. How strong do you think it affected the later movies? I know we saw a drop off at kind of Age of Extinction. Most would agree, but
Mm-hmm.
Dark of the Moon did pretty well at the box office. I think it was what the only one across $1 billion mark.
It still had a lot of the faults that Revenge of the Fallen did. It wasn't quite as crude. It didn't have quite as many. However you feel about Skids and Mudflap, whether you think they're racist or whether you think they're stupid or just, mind-meltingly asinine, Dark of the Moon didn't have quite as much of that, but it still had a lot of the faults and breakdowns of the mechanics of storytelling that Revenge of the Fallen did. All those movies felt unfocused. Like if you watch Transformers 2007, you can be like, okay, I understand the plot, even when it pivots from like Sam and Michaela to the military guys to just the Transformers doing their thing, the Autobots kind of like huddled together, and then you have Sector 7, and then you have the brief things with the Decepticons. Like you could follow what was going on. It would pivot in directions and perspectives with the storyline, but it wouldn't like deviate and just go in a completely different direction. With Revenge of the
Okay.
Fallen, it's like you have Sam goes off to college, you have all the stuff going on with Nest, boom, Jetfire comes out of nowhere, you have Megatron gets revived because reasons. Um, it and then you have the Fallen that just randomly appears without any exposition, like he's just there all of a sudden. It's just there were a lot of places that looked like a high schooler that was trying to put together an English essay like at 2 a.m. before it was due the next day and just like stitching shit together as
And hope
opposed
it
to
that yeah, hope it lands.
right. And it absolutely didn't. Versus with Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, Aaron Kruger very much had like total control over the script. So it was marginally better, but I don't know. I don't know if it was just bad writing or just Michael Bay getting his hands too much within the writing and directing all over his movie and just interfering with the vision of that or whatever. but the movies never recovered. And yes, you could blame a lot of that on Michael Bay's directing style, his camera work, over focus on action, everything having to be too big. But even if you strip that away and you try like squinting at the story, even for a lot of Transformers fans, they're just hard to follow.
Yeah, even as a kid, like being 9 at the time, I realized that there was like this huge kind of departure of storytelling to more leaning into the visual effects. Getting Devastator in that, third act and having all these Decepticons show up and die and then come back again with, no reason at all. That beginning fight in Shanghai with Optimus and Demolisher, I thought it was way too much. Like my brain was breaking seeing all of this, and I was like, I want to hear them talk. I want to hear them do something or say something cool, and sprinkle some of this in. But when it's all this, I could tell that they're trying to like overcompensate for something. I knew something was wrong even then.
At the end of Transformers 2007, you see Starscream like take off and go
Yeah.
to parts unknown, and you're like, oh my goodness, like what's going to happen? And for those of you that never read The Reign of Starscream from IDW, which is part of like one of the movie comics, you kind of find out what happens. And there was this like huge setup. So I'm thinking, oh, good, like Starscream's going to actually take over the Decepticons. Nope. They bring Megatron back to life. They have this like weird, like skinny skeletal dude who's resting on a chair because reasons. He comes, he gets his face ripped off. There's a pyramid. Oh, by the way, Devastator's here. Oh, by the way, there's a weird like pretender thing that tries to have sex with Sam. Like, just what? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, Revenge of the Fallen was a hot mess. Not quite as much of a hot mess as The Last Night, but the 2008's writer strike just it really just stabbed the live action franchise in the heart. And even with Bumblebee nowadays and Rise of the Beast kind of like slowly getting that back to normal, I think with the success that we're hearing from Transformers 1, I think that's just the direction the live action, or the not even live action. I think that's the direction that these theatrical films are going to go in. That's probably going to be the future of it. I think with all the confusion around Lorenzo and just the way that these movies have been received and like that lingering reputation of the Transformers movies that we still haven't gotten over, even with two relatively like commercially or not commercially, critically well received films with Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts, you still have like 4 other movies of just being terrible that we still haven't shaken off.
Mm-hmm. Or not even us, it's like the the mass audience, the people who aren't into Transformers, who don't have a reason to go. Me and you, we're always gonna show up. If it's good or bad, we're gonna be there, and we're not the majority of the box office tickets, sadly.
Sadly, we're not, but even I was kind of feeling like, what's going on here with Devastator? I couldn't even imagine what my friends or my girlfriend at the time were thinking when they were watching Age of Extinction. They're just like, Paul, it's all robots to me. He's like, how did you follow this? I'm like, I barely follow this, and I'm like
listen, like listen, we had to get damaged by Energon and all those shows back then to understand shit like this. Like we went through the shit. So you guys could run.
We have our mental scars for sure as a Transformers fan. For all the good series, there's like 1 or 2 really bad ones. But continue on that. What did you have down for your next fail?
I got you. I have. All right. Let me go towards. We'll come back to media, but I want to touch back on the toy industry and the oversimplification that we got of Transformer toys and the lack of engineering, or you could say that they were trying things out, but I felt like they crossed the line of we're trying things out for the younger audiences and we want to see how this does well. I feel like they overcompensated on their failures on like kind of what Combiner Wars and RID 2015 did to them, and I feel like they took it way past the main line and into the more collector oriented lines that they had given us before. We saw that in start of Age of Extinction when we got those one-step changers and flipping changers and those
Mega
smash
one-step
changers.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, like what is this for? Who is this for? When I was a kid, I wanted a Masterpiece Optimus Prime. I didn't care if I was 7 years old. I don't I don't want my Optimus Prime transforming into a truck in 2 steps. Like, give me the whole thing or don't give me it at all.
No, when you got those Happy Meal Transformers, Danny was just like, no, throw it out on the road.
That's like McDonald's. What the hell is this?
What is this cheap Chinese shit?
Yeah.
Get it out.
No, but I 100% understand the need for simpler Transformers for the younger audiences now. And that might just be because a younger audiences aren't used to physical play and like playing with toys, and maybe they need that boost to get them into the industry, whether it's Transformers or Marvel figures or just anything, G.I. Joe. So I understand that more now, but I definitely feel like there was an oversaturation of that bleeding into other lines that I loved.
Yes.
And I stepped away for a good year or two from collecting Transformers, but once they started to kind of get it together and understand, hey, maybe we should keep these things separate. Let's keep the kid stuff marketed as the kid stuff, and the collector-oriented lines will leave for now. And that's when I started getting back in.
I would have to agree. And to piggyback off what I said earlier regarding that time because that was around or shortly before RID 2015. Like you said, Age of Extinction, 2014. That's when the brand simplification happened. The toys were getting simpler. Articulation was getting reduced. They tried to keep things like relatively stable with price points, but you could just tell like, oh, wow, things are not as good as they used to be, even from like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. The drop off in quality from like the Revenge of the Fallen, Hunt for the Decepticon toy line in 2010, and then Age of Extinction 4 years later, wild, like absolutely wild decline.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't even get the cast of Age of Extinction in their proper colors. They had to oversaturate the Dinobots just so they could be more appealing to kids.
To be fair, all the Dinobots for the most part were mostly gray. Studio Series did fix that a little bit.
Yeah, well, they only had one Age of Extinction Dinobot so far.
Shout out to Hasbro. We want Scorn. I want my Commander class Scorn already. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Scorn's a beast, but
Scorn is a freaking G. Like how would that not sell? A like leader class mechanical Spinosaurus. Like Hasbro, you guys are doing very well with your 86 Dinobots. Give us some more AoE Dinobots. We need them. Like now, they would sell like hotcakes. What are you doing with your more Coronation Starscreams? What are you doing with like yet another re-release of Optimus Prime from Rise of the Beast? We see them everywhere. Come on.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's gotten to the point where I have the opening package, like the open package Optimus Primals, sitting next to the closed packages from last year.
Yes, likewise.
But yeah, those things would sell insanely well right now. But I mean, I understand kind of protecting a trademark and giving you like themselves time to operate those things behind the scenes, so they don't have to push out another Grimoire or another Swoop or another Sludge or another Snarl. But guess what? None of the Dinobots in Age of Extinction had those names, so I don't understand what the whole problem is right now.
Well, there was one. His name was Grimlock, and he's seen a re-release.
Yeah, but I mean, other than Grimlock, it's like, who else? Like, oh, you're worried you're gonna lose Slug too, I guess, but they did 86 Slug, what, 2 years ago now? Maybe they have like another year or so. No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't, bro. No, they didn't. 2021?
Yes. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Bro, what? I got it. It feels like I got him like last year
Well, they did a re-release.
of Slug.
Yeah,
Did they?
they did.
No, I don't think I got the re-release. I got the original release.
Because 2020, the pre-orders were for Grimlock, and Grimlock came out like in February of 21 or something like that. Then Slug came out that summer, because I remember getting Slug along with Leader Class Grindor, and I was still at my old apartment by then. Then 2022 was Sludge, last year was Snarl, and then this year was Swoop. So
No
yes,
way. It's crazy. It feels like I've gotten these guys within like 2 years.
ain't it nuts?
Damn, that pandemic messed us up.
The pandemic is still messing me up. But yes, I agree. Those one-step changers, I don't see them anymore. Thank goodness. I think it's a little too simple. Like even little kid Paul was like, give me like whatever it was, Mega Class RID 2001, emphasis on RID 2001, Optimus Prime, that like you have to take apart like a Lego set, put it back together, combine with Ultra Magnus, take you like an hour to do it. But that's part of the challenge. It's not, I don't want like this instantaneous, like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, brain is cooked, simple instructions.
Yeah, I love when my Transformers try to fight back a bit. You know, like I want to do the work. You know, it's a robot. It's a vehicle mode, whatever it has to be. But it's also like a puzzle. I want it to be a puzzle. You know, I don't want to have this made easy for me.
No, that's such the easy way out. That's not the way to have fun with Transformers. Speaking of things that make you cringe, I'm gonna go on with my, what are we on? Second fail each now? I'm gonna go with my
Yes.
second fail. IDWRC. The way they handled explaining gender in Transformers has always like made my brain just like split into like a million pieces. I'm one of those people that's just like, yes, I understand they're robots, but the way that Transformers exist, you have to treat them as an alien life form as much as they are mechanical beings. And I know a lot of it's pseudoscience, a lot of it's like fantastical, you know, whatever the hell. But like, let's be real here. It's a franchise about transforming alien robots. I feel like if you over explain certain things like why are there male robots? Why are there female robots? I feel like if you over explain that, it just goes into a bunch of dark places. Like not like dark humor, haha, that's funny, but like dark as in like you're a grown adult thinking about like a kid's franchise. Why is your mind going to that place? Wherever you stand politically, like whether you're politically right, politically left, politically in the center, either end of the fringes, I don't think there's a single person that can really justify the way that IDW RC was handled well. Like at worst, it's transphobic. At best, it's like some weird, creepy, very like detached from reality way of how people should view gender. And it's like I said, I don't think the idea of there being a male and female, even if among robots, should be explained. Because even if you look at something like Star Wars, I'm not, Danny, you're a Star Wars fan, aren't you?
For the sake of the podcast and conversation, I'm going to say yes. Off air, I will talk to you about it.
That is a hard no. But you know the characters of like C3PO and RGD2.
Yeah,
you at least
yeah.
know who them.
Yeah, like I know what's going on, but I'm not in it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. But like you understand that like when they talk about those characters, they refer to them as he.
Yeah.
Like male. So like that's the same thing. Like no, do you have to be capable of biological reproduction to have gender? I suppose not really, but again, like you can have like masculine programming, you can have feminine programming. That's kind of the way that gender manifests between Transformers. So it's not biological based, it's more like personality based, and something that we as humans would recognize in male and female. And because we're storytellers as humans, wanting to have a story made for humans, we're going to humanize the characters. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be biologically based, but the idea of gender needing to be explained just kind of makes my brain like go all over the place.
And also, like you said, and how I've said in the past multiple times, this is a fandom of transforming robots our brain was thrown out as soon as we saw them turn into a truck. You know,
Yes.
I don't need you to explain how they eat. It's something I think about almost like once a month. Like, what do they eat? Do they drink? Like, I don't understand. But you don't need to explain that to me. I don't care. And it doesn't aid the franchise or the fandom in any significant way. You know,
It
I don't
only
need to
gets into dark
overthink.
territory.
Yeah, like I don't need to overthink this. You know, I'm here for these silly little robots, and that's it. I'm aware that it's already kind of like a satire thing. I'm not gonna try to make it adult or mature by adding, you know, some context to these things.
Yeah. It's like, I understand the nerdish fascination with having to like explore aspects of the universe, but there's only so much exploring you can do before it's like, guys, let's like build lore here instead of just explaining things that don't need to be explained. Because there's
Yeah.
just, like I said with this character already, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're trying to explain the presence of a female character in a male dominated space with a lot of male dominated fans and with a good amount of, not in the majority, but a good amount of fans that don't have the best views towards women in the first place, that only just goes into icky territory. And I think the way that they pivoted towards that and kind of lent into the more like LGBT representation amongst Transformers, especially in IDW at the time, I think they tried to course correct it as best as they could. And I know that the intention wasn't to go that way with IDWRC as being like this transphobic thing, but the way that it ended up, again, no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, at best, it's just a very messy mischaracterization of the character. At worst, it's extremely bigoted, and I don't think we should go back that direction. Just the less
Mm-hmm.
said, the better. I don't want to spend too
Yeah.
much more time on it, but
Okay.
it's not a good look. I'll say that much. I'll wrap it up there.
All right. Tag me and I'll save you.
Go. Take the baton.
Transformers
Take it.
Prime.
Run.
Transformers Prime.
Get the
Overhyped.
fuck out of here. Get out of here.
Overhyped.
Really?
Overhyped. These are my notes right here. Overhyped.
Oh,
Praised way too much. Heavily knocks off the movies, especially in those first few episodes. Are you kidding me? Come on. And the toxic fans that came out of it, like absolutely just gatekeep Transformers Prime.
Okay. I'm going to
And
disagree with you a little bit here. But that's what makes this podcast interesting. We can actually duke it out. But no, continue. Go ahead.
oh no, that was the end of my notes, but let me expand on that a little bit more, you know.
Okay. Yeah, expand, keep making
Let
it
me-
cool yourself.
Let me twist the knife a bit, you know. Those first few episodes with the Autobots and Optimus Prime introducing himself and that garbage dialogue that felt forced at best, you know, with Miko and Jack meeting Optimus Prime when he says, you know, almost verbatim that, you know, my name's Optimus Prime, we're from the planet Cybertron, also known as Autobots. Are you kidding me? Like, the only thing that makes that different from the movie is that Optimus Prime explained what Autobots were instead of Ratchet. And the shitty dialogue of "Why are you here?" makes me cringe so much, and the repeated like usage of some phrases in every season of like Megatron be gone, and damn, I have so many. I have so many. I should have wrote all these down, but just the dialogue sometimes gets so cringe. And
Danny is not a fan of the aligned continuity.
no, I like the idea of the aligned continuity. I love the Fall of Cybertron, War for Cybertron video games. Transformers Prime I like as a show. Like, it's a good show. I don't think it's the best show. I don't think that it's all that everybody praises it to be. And there's a lot of dialogue issues I have with it. There's a lot of kind of just knocking off the movies, like I said, and it just infuriates me sometimes how much the fans will just gatekeep the show and kind of be like, if you don't like the show, don't watch it. And it's like, I don't not like the show. I like the show. It's just there's things about the show that I don't like, and there's a lot of fans out there who can't kind of like accept that, and it's either you love the show or you hate it, and it's not black and white.
Well, congratulations on like lobbing a fair criticism of something you don't like. I mean, you're it's an unpopular opinion for sure. But I think your criticisms are valid. Probably
If you're
one
gonna
of the
tell me how I'm
reasons.
wrong,
No. I'm actually gonna elaborate on why you think it's so much like the movies. You want to know who produced the show?
who was it? Who was it? Is it not Jeff Klein, right? I know he's attached to it.
Yes. Roberto Orsi and Alex Kurtzman, the guys that wrote TF 2007. That's why like that first season especially feels so much like the first movie. Same
Yeah,
guys are
I don't
attached to
know.
it.
See, like it doesn't like make me feel better knowing that they wrote it because it's like you did a thing and you just thought doing the same thing was gonna work. I mean, it did work, but did it like work for me?
That's valid. I think my opinion on Transformers Prime, it's not my favorite either. I think it's definitely one of the better series.
Yeah, 100%.
Although personally, my all-time favorite, if I'm being like truly fair to the brand, I think animated is probably my favorite, just because of how consistent the storytelling was. Like you would have episodic episodes that would just like deviate from the story, tell their own like little short aside, but you could tell that there was a greater story at play. Like, you know, the Autobot crew is stranded here on Earth, and it's about Optimus Prime's crew, like not only making contact with Cybertron again, but also like apprehending Megatron and the last remnant of the Decepticon stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
Versus with Prime, it's like I think it was very inconsistent with its storytelling. You had in my opinion, a very strong first season that knew what it was doing, that ended on a great cliffhanger with Prime's mind being wiped. And then it resolved too quickly in season 2, how like he was Orion Pax again for like what, 3 episodes, 5
Yeah,
episodes,
about.
something like that. And then it turns into a scavenger hunt where if season 1 was like a 9 out of 10, season 2 was easily like a 6 or a 5. And then the momentum kind of came back a little bit for season 3 with Beast Hunters and Predacons Rising, and I think it ended on a strong note. But there was a lot of like meandering, inconsistent direction, and just a sense of overall like kicking its tires. But without making excuses for Hasbro, you know, or the Hub, that was the network that they were on at the time, but was basically Hasbro itself. I think a lot of your criticisms are right. Prime, I love Peter Cullen, love having him in there, but a lot of his dialogue seems very wooden.
Yeah,
We're even with the movies, like the dialogue may not have been the best, but you could definitely tell there was better voice direction instead of Optimus Prime giving his platitudes and speeches and the one shall stand thing, and you know a bunch
and
of
it was
like
very stoic too.
Almost too stoic, like wooden.
Yeah, it kind of just took me out of that, you know. And it's a shame because I've heard how much fun he had playing Optimus in that show, and it's like I wish I had that much fun watching the show, but I just wasn't in it.
I agree. I'm also kind of sick of not Peter Cullen being Optimus Prime, but people who are not Peter Cullen trying to be Peter Cullen's Optimus Prime.
Yep.
Like, let Peter Cullen do his thing. Give Peter Cullen a great voice director like Susan Blue that knows what they're doing and actually cares about giving a solid performance and like knows how to tap into the different nuances of the character. Even with like Rise of the Beast, like you could tell that they had like a good voice director, and you could tell that like when Optimus was mad, you could tell when he was like just annoyed with Bumblebee, or if he was like filled with sorrow or regret. Versus with Transformers Prime, it was like stoic all the time.
I love when I can feel or I could see that he's feeling something. And
Yes.
like you said, too stoic in Transformers Prime. It's just like you have one emotion. And it's not like, you know, what makes Optimus Prime special isn't that he's always this brave and confident and kind of reserved character. It's that he's a they humanize him in such a way that we could relate to him. We could see his struggles. We could see how he deals with things, and stoic and courageous and being a leader is essentially who he is, but that's not all he is.
In order to make Optimus Prime a successful character, you have to contrast who Orion Pax wanted to be against who Optimus Prime ultimately became. So with Orion Pax, you have this like simply lowly data clerk that aspired for a better life. He didn't want to just be, punching data all the time. He wanted to be like an adventurer. He wanted to be someone who had a life of significance. He wanted to be like the explorer, which is why he works so well as like the captain of not only like an entire military force, but also like the captain of an expeditionary team, especially in G1 when they crash land on Earth, or whatever other series when they crash land on Earth. But you have to contrast that against the military general and victim of war that Optimus Prime is. So I think buried beneath him why he loves Earth so much is it reminded him of like the kind of person he wanted to be. He sees the innocence in a lot of, the human companions, the beauty of Earth, what Cybertron used to be, and then feels this sort of obligation to protect this other precious planet against the Decepticons that are going to turn this into another war-torn shithole. And that's what makes Optimus Prime such a great character, when you balance out like his desire for peace and innocence along with his duty to not only his culture but his men and the other people around him. So it's a constant like teeter-totter between that idealism. Yep. It's doubt. Like you have to like capture that like doubt about him. And with Transformers Prime, getting back to your fail, I had a larger point with this, but getting back to your fail,
you're good.
With Transformers Prime, you just don't really have a lot of that outside the Orion Pax art. It's just like we said, a lot of platitudes, but not a lot of like really deep nuggets of character development. Some great quotes, but not a lot of like consistent, thorough character development with him.
Yeah, the quotes kind of felt empty, but I definitely have another. I think my biggest one and my last one. We could talk about it after yours, but it definitely goes into that Optimus Prime arc, and we'll talk about it when I pass this baton over and you pass it back. Yeah. So what's yours?
Which one do I want to go first? I'll go with another personal series of mine that I didn't really care for. I don't think this is an unpopular opinion at all within the franchise, but Transformers Energon. I don't have a lot of kind stuff to say about Transformers Energon. Armada ended on a very strong note with a seeming end to the Autobot-Decepticon war, Megatron making a sacrifice, Starscream making his like courageous sacrifice that prompted Megatron to sort of like grow up, wise up, and team up to stop Unicron. There was a peace between the Autobots and Decepticons. All of a sudden, they have like, the threat of Unicron returning because Alpha Q did his thing, and like I'm like, okay, we have a cool, interesting direction. We have a new evil faction led by Scorponok and the Quintessons and whatnot. Which at that point I understood what they were because I had seen Transformers the movie. Even as a little kid, I'm like, so this is what they're trying to like accomplish here. But as soon as Megatron came back, as soon as like Cyclonus and Demolisher got mind wiped and put into new bodies, as soon as the like Snowcat's freaking yodeling started, Tidal Wave getting reformatted into Mirage, just everything about that series, as soon as Megatron came back in the picture, just died and never recovered. The direction was all over the place. As a kid, I didn't understand where the story was going. When I've rewatched clips as an adult, I'm like, no wonder I was starting to have like intellectual problems understanding where the story was going. It was not visually appealing at all. The CGI looked cheap. With Cybertron, they stepped it up big time. Some of the toys were all right, but just it was in that sea of time where they were just throwing trademarks on random robots just to keep them active, just to hold them alive. Cliff Jumper was like a orange dune buggy.
Orange Beachcomber.
Prowl was basically like a combination of like Mirage, but with like police lights on him. Rodimus had like a cool little version of himself as like a flaming fire truck, but
yeah, that was cool.
Nothing really made sense. I still don't understand what Energon was trying to accomplish anyway. It was just a lot of nonsense. Oh yeah, also probably the biggest kicker. See what I did there? The biggest kicker with Energon was Energon Ironhide. Like, of all the things in that series, the most annoying thing about the most annoying Transformers series, like hands freaking down, the worst kid appeal character in the franchise, Energon Ironhide.
They tried so hard to make us like him,
and they went nowhere. I remember, like, I don't think I've ever seen a figure, and this includes like the height of the Transformers 2007 Bumblebee swarm, with like there was like 1,001 different Bumblebees all over the place. I have never seen a figure just shelf warm like Energon Ironhide. Just nobody bought him. Nobody wanted him. And for good reason. Annoying as hell. Deserves to totally be banished. Should never have a legacy figure ever. Just awful character.
And I could see a legacy figure come out of like that crankcase mold.
No.
If they made Cannonball,
just die. Go.
If they made Cannonball out of that mold,
Enough.
I'm just mentally preparing you. I care about you.
There's going to be an Optimus Prime made from that mold. There's going to be a Starscream made from the Legacy Skids mold. Let's just put wings on this truck. It can be Starscream. Yes.
New Titan class mold out of that mold.
Titan class skids.
Titan class skids is crazy.
$200 piece of crap.
They don't even do anything with it. It's just blown up.
It's just blown up. The stupid little like Energon thing that goes ding.
It's like human sized at that point.
No, it's so terrible.
Oh my god! But yeah. I mean, like you said, I mean, going out, like coming just out of Armada and kind of piggybacking that show made you hate Energon way more. It would have been a whole different story if Energon was just its own thing and didn't bring back Starscream and Megatron after the sacrifices, like you said.
It's just it failed so hard. It was also a moment as a kid where I just kind of like said, I had my Energon Optimus Prime back in the day, which, you know, even though the inner robot mode, the Fatimus Prime nickname is very justified, the idea of Optimus Prime kind of having like a true Megazord like super mode where he has like these little vehicles that combine on him to make the bigger thing. Cool looking design, I have to say. Like, if they make a Commander class Energon Optimus Prime, I think if they're going to venture to proper sized Energon Transformers, that's the one they should start off with, just to like really test the waters on what the Energon character demand is like, because that is an awesome looking Optimus Prime. But just that's about as positive a spin I can put on Transformers Energon. Just when I hear Energon universe now, I think of Skybound and what Image is doing. I try to forget everything about like the middle chapter of the Unicron trilogy. Just like some other series that are out there. I'm not sure if you want to talk about your big juicy one quite yet, but I think I have an idea of what it is. It's another Transformers series that we talked about earlier today. I'm not sure if that was on your list, but I'll let you.
RID?
No. Or was this a different one?
I don't know, because I was going to talk about. Well, am I getting to mine right now?
Yeah, I'm passing it off to you. Which one do you want to do next?
Well, right now, I wanted to talk about kind of not really kind of, but the disrespect towards the Optimus Prime character as a whole in some continuities, whether it's the voice acting or the lack of direction or the direction they're going in, even, you know, turning him into a ruthless killer, or, you know, kind of just not giving him the the spotlight he deserves in some continuities. You know, this goes from, I mean, everybody's heard that story with the Michael Bay movies where he wasn't so excited on saying some lines where he felt Optimus Prime wouldn't say that, you know. And when he thinks of Optimus Prime, when Peter Cullen thinks of Optimus Prime, he thinks of his brother, since that's who Optimus Prime is based off of. And I feel like forcing a voice actor that's done this role for, at that point, what, 20, 30 years to kind of go against what this character is all about, you know, that's an issue. You know, that's not something that should be taken lightly on, like, oh, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, they don't know the movie industry, blah blah blah, whatever. This person is that character at that point. They should have some input on what the character can do or should say, or maybe they wouldn't say it like this, they would say it this way, you know. You don't have to say, no, I don't want to say that. You'd be like,
Feedback.
hey, yeah, like just bounce back and forth, you know. Try to figure out what you could work with, what you can't work with. Try to figure out where that kind of compromise is, and maybe go from there. But I mean, as a, you know, longtime Transformers fan or Optimus Prime fan, I kind of take that too seriously. And I mean, it's just, it doesn't sit well with me when I hear these stories of other actors coming in and kind of doing the voice lines for Optimus Prime, and then Peter Cullen getting called in for a day and kind of emulate the Optimus Prime that the other voice actor did, because
you're
it has
talking
to
more or
match.
less about Bumblebee, right?
Yeah, now I'm talking about Bumblebee.
Those lines, yeah.
Yeah, where he has to redo the lines and kind of be the Optimus Prime that the other person was trying to be. And like, it doesn't sit well with me. I don't know how you feel about that. I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'm all for like different interpretations of Optimus Prime, like we were talking about earlier. Like the first Optimus Prime I ever listened to was Neil Kaplan from RID 2001, and he's clearly like he's taking the template that Peter Cullen let down, like, you know, older guy having the raspier voice, being the leader, but he's not like doing the one shall stand, one shall fall kind of thing. Like he has his own spin on it.
Yeah, he's doing his own thing.
And he's not trying to be a carbon copy of Peter Cullen. Or have someone like Gary Chalk that's like, you originally have him with Optimus Primal, and then you have him as the Unicron Trilogy Optimus Prime, where he's clearly taking that like template of being like the leader of the Autobots, but having a more like militaristic, like tactical approach to it.
Mm-hmm. You still see that caring side to him too.
Right. Same thing with David Kay. He's a younger version of Prime, but he's still caring. He's still empathetic. He still has like this. He still sees himself as like the sentinel and protector of planet Earth, but he's not he's not going to be like picking up basketballs like he is in G1, or like saying one shall stand, one shall fall, beating his chest and, you know, doing the whole, you know, not that Optimus Prime beats his chest, but you know what I mean.
Wrong Optimus.
Well, that's Optimus Primal. Different story. Right.
Yeah.
But like something like from the one that really comes across as insulting to me is the one from the War for Cybertron trilogy from Netflix, where I don't know if it's just bad voice acting or bad voice directing, but it's like deadpanning the entire time. And even the voice actors just doing such a blatant ripoff of Peter Cullen, where it's like, you're not even trying to do something different, which at the end of the day, it's going to reflect badly on everybody. And this ties a little bit more into what I would consider to be my next fail. But I'll say this much on the portrayals of Optimus Prime. In order for a franchise to breathe a little bit, you have to have a different interpretation, and different actors and different writers add their own flavorings to Optimus or Megatron or whatever character it might be, just to keep things fresh and just to make sure that people are coming in having their own distinct flavor of the brand without it being a constant retread of Generation 1 over and over and over again. But you can't stray so far from what was created beforehand that it becomes just so not identical. Like with the Bay films, you don't want Prime to be like, give me your face, take it, take this, take that, we're going to go kill you kind of Optimus Prime, because that's just like some generic mindless action villain. But at the same time, it shouldn't be 84 to 87 all over again.
No, like the balance with Rise of the Beast having, up until the third act, when he eventually kind of just rips Scourge into pieces.
Which was deserved.
Yeah, it was deserved, but I did kind of cringe because I was like, oh, we're going back to this. Like, like I didn't mind even that deleted scene with Transit, he's, because, Optimus Prime in that story, he's like, at that point, he's desperate. He wants to go home. He feels guilty. He's regretful taking everybody away from home. Like I understand those acts of violence, but when I saw like him ripping Scourge to pieces, I was like, damn, I was kind of hoping like they'd kind of go a different way, like a different direction in defeating the villain instead of just ruthlessly killing the villain and not having him come back, or like I want to see a villain come back in another movie. You know what I mean? I don't like to see these villains just get killed in the movie they're introduced in.
I agree. And that ties into my next fail, which is brand stagnation. So one thing that I love about Transformers is how the brand keeps reinventing itself. Like it'll take tweaks, it'll take different directions. There'll be new interpretations of it. There'll be a comic universe. There'll be, all these new TV series that are coming out, all these new movies. And for the most part, they don't stray too drastically far from the source material. But I feel that similar to the way that Transformers was in the 90s, before Beast Wars happened, we're kind of at a point right now where I feel that there's not enough pivoting in new directions, and there's not radical reinventions of storytelling such that you can really like inject life into the franchise in a way that hasn't been for quite some time. So what I mean by this is not that we were alive to experience it or really like cognizant to experience it, but in like the late 80s, early 90s, how everything just kept running on fumes off the G1 cartoon, even if it was like 5 to 10 years since there had been like proper episodes aired for it. Like they were still milking the fiction, like, milking the G1 comic as long as they could, having, repackaged and, spliced versions of the G1 cartoon airing with like the cybernetic space cube or whatever it was called.
Yeah, it's just G1 again.
Exactly. Just repackaged G1, not really like taking a risk or whatever, to the point of where something like Beast Wars had to come along. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about Transformers today. Like Beast Wars was a risk in every sense of the word. Like not a traditionally animated cartoon. It was 3D. It wasn't the same characters we had over and over again, although some of them would be reintroduced later. It was a brand new cast of characters. Instead of being set in the future, it was sort of set in the past, sort of set in the future that way. And then they had like a whole new distinct era that was around the whole Beast Wars concept. With 2007, again, however you feel about the films, you had the 2007 movie. It had a whole new aesthetic to it. It brought Transformers into a live action setting. Brand new take on it. And I feel like at this point, maybe Transformers 1 could be that reset, maybe not. At least the public consciousness, because we really haven't had a positive, like, not only community-wide reset of the way we view Transformers, but definitely like a mainstream general public audience reset of it. The hopeful side of me would be like, okay, if Transformers 1 does like phenomenally well, maybe this is the reset that we've been waiting for. But I still think that there needs to be like a new paradigm in the way that fans experience Transformers. I think that there needs to be kind of an almost like radical retelling or revamping of the way that we view the franchise. Like take something as simple as like the Allspark or the Matrix of Leadership and just like fundamentally change the way that we view Transformers society. Like the way that I think of it is like use the Allspark as sort of like this memory of Cybertron, and have it crash land onto Earth, and then like slowly but surely have the Allspark reanimate the Transformers one by one onto Earth, and have the like Transformers go back and like rediscover their memories of Cybertron as like this dying civilization or dead civilization, and now they're trying to like restart it.
Yeah, notice
like
that. Yeah, like the shows or the continuities, the like whatever forms of media that rely too much on let's change this, kind of end up flopping and falling on their face. You know, for example, like Earthspark. Yeah, so I like when continuities try to change one or two parts, try not to get over ambitious on retelling a story or changing the story up, you know. Grab the Allspark, you know, throw it out of the story, you know, forget about the Allspark. It doesn't exist. Let's talk about Vector Sigma. Let's talk about the Enigma of Combination. Let's talk about the Requiem Blaster, the Star Saber, this, that, you know. Those are the things that kind of like are more accepted in the fandom, and those are things that we build on and want to see more of later on. I'm tired of the Allspark. I am beyond tired of this thing. I don't know how you feel about the Allspark. You know, it wasn't a thing till like Michael Bay brought it up and kind of brought it into the forefront of Transformers. Animated had it kind of like resembling the Matrix a bit, which was cool. I like that idea. The entire Siege trilogy, Cyberverse, you know, Transformers Prime had the Allspark in it. I want to see these changes too. I'm a big G1 guy. I love G1. You know, I have G1 bots surrounding me right now, but I want to see like new ideas too.
Yeah, I was mostly using the Allspark as like an example of like something that we know is like such a big fixture in Transformers, but use it in a different way instead of being like the thing that lights up Cybertron. Like it's sort of being the, and again, this is me completely thinking here, but using it as like a battery or a real codex or like catalog or archive of what Cybertron life was. Like when you look at like the G1 comics, you have like the whole Great Shutdown thing where Cybertronian life just like came to a halt. Sort of building off something like that. Like Primus decides, you know what, screw these guys, we're out of here. We're shutting down the whole war, and just like taking Cybertron, putting it somewhere else, so to speak. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here just with ideas because I'm so tired of like, oh no, we have like Optimus Prime and Megatron's crew. They're fighting. Da, 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 da. We go to Earth. We do the same thing as always. I'm just like, it's cool and all. I understand the concept. We can kind of have, it's like when you're looking at a, or when you're watching a Spider-Man movie, like how many times do you have to hear, you know, bitten by a radioactive spider? If you're watching Batman, how many times do you have to see him cry and his parents get shot? If you watch a Superman movie, it's like how many times do you have to see the baby in the space pod come down to Kansas? It's like, the same thing with Transformers.
If the movies get it, then we could get it too. It's just we're just too attached to it at this point.
Right. It's too much of a sacred cow, and the way that my mind thinks, if you wanted to get truly transformational change, take your sacred cows and like turn them into hamburgers or steaks. Like you need to keep the core of what the franchise is and its characters the same. Or you can have the legacy characters, but have them like in a more supporting role. But introduce new elements. Make sure the elements are written very well in a way that's not insulting to the fans and insulting to the property. And just like tell good stories. If the story's good and there's no like weird like political agenda one way or another, or it being used as like a springboard for activism or whatever, if you just tell a good story first and foremost, and then maybe insert other things and life lessons or whatever you want to insert in there, that's okay. But new changes, like you said, they shouldn't come at the expense of just making new changes. They should just be, you know, this story idea sounds cool. If we write it well, can it be changed this way?
Yeah, the story will do its job. Just gotta let it.
Yeah. That's basically what I got. And then my final fail would be, of course, Kiss players. We've talked about enough here. I would probably end the podcast on that. But it's the butt of the joke of the podcast. But again, like kissy kissy face anime girls giving Transformers superpowers. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy ideas, like, who would have thought of
Or arch enemy, Kiss players.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
We don't even have to elaborate. I feel like everybody watching this podcast knows what
And
Kiss
if you
players
don't,
is.
save yourself the trouble, or don't.
Or search it up. Or search it up.
Google
No.
the wiki at your own peril.
Yeah, Google it. Go ahead, do it.
We dare you.
I encourage you. I encourage you to Google it.
If you're a fan of Kiss players, you really need to reconsider your choices in life. I don't think they're working for you.
If you have that 4-pack and have the Kiss player's head on that Auto Trooper, this is not your podcast.
That's actually probably the only good thing to come out of Kiss players was the concept of the Auto Trooper. The head sculpt does look cool, but like everything else, just no.
But I would feel guilty putting it on.
Yeah, I do feel guilty putting it on. It's like the animated, like you have the other head. This is cool, but remember where it came from.
Oh, so you have put it on.
I mean, it's an alternate head sculpt.
Oh,
I do. Yeah.
Oh, you're a Kiss players fan now.
No, not
Get
that
him.
way.
Get
not
him.
That way. Oh, shut up.
Oh, he's stuttering. He's stuttering. That's crazy.
Not even. I have them. I've put it on for just curiosity, but at this point, they are all animated heads. Thank you very much. Green visor, not red visor. I swear. This I swear.
I mean, if you say so. But, I mean,
Yeah.
The internet will do its job. They'll find it.
It will. It will indeed. Did you have another fail, or are we about to wrap this up?
No, that was it. That big Optimus Prime one was the last one.
Got you. Well, if you've made it to the end on this one, we salute you. We will be back next time with a list of the 5 greatest successes. I'm sure Danny will have a hell of a time editing this episode, but we thank you for sticking through to the end on it. Once again, if you are interested, my Instagram is Brooklyn Bots. Danny's is Matrix_Mez23. If you made it all the way here, smash that like button on YouTube. Subscribe for the next episode. If you're listening on Spotify, 3 buttons at the top, 5-star review. Give us a follow. With that, I think we can say sayonara for now.